Ballpark is a podcast where you can expect easy listening about Little League, minor league, and Major League Baseball. We'll talk about highs and lows of the modern day Sandlot. So if you want to sit back and relax, rest easy in knowing you will get everyday guys sharing everyday opinions. Don't worry about complex analysis here, because on this podcast we are just breaking down the ballpark. On this episode of Breaking Down the Ballpark, we'll be talking about what we would do if we were the commissioner for a day, the new uniforms, and the outlook for the 2024 roster of our Fightin' Phils on today's episode of Breaking Down the Ballpark. Hello everybody, welcome to the show. We're going to kick it off with talking about what I would do if I was commissioner of Major League Baseball for a day. I think if I was commissioner for a day, I would be, one, super nervous. I mean, I have all these teams counting on me to do the right thing by them. All the fans counting on me to make the right decisions, making the game better every day. Just a tough job being the commissioner of baseball. But I think at the end of the day, you make hard decisions and you gotta stick by them. One of the things I think I would change about baseball, number one, the umpires. I think the umpiring needs to change a little bit. I think we have to take a long, hard look at how the umps are calling the games. I know there's a lot of room for improvement. And, the umpiring has to get a little bit better, especially in the balls and strikes. We've come a long way with the umpiring with instant replay. And I have to say, the umpires should look back at these instant replays and really take an inward look. Because if I was an umpire and I look back at some of these plays, and yeah, the bang bang plays, I think that would be fine to say, hey, I missed one by an inch, a millisecond even. And these guys, they're taking a look at these plays, super slow-mo, hairline of an inch. Okay, that's one thing. These guys are seeing it in real time. And hey, I give kudos to the guys who are making the calls right. That's amazing. But some of these calls, they're bad. They're missing them by a foot. I don't know how they sleep at night knowing that they're missing these calls, and then they can look back on the instant replay and see how bad they've missed them. And then the balls and strikes. If I was the commissioner, I'd be looking at this and saying, we got to do something about that. The umpires are messing with the game. They're changing the outcome with the game in key bats. They're getting people to be out. They're giving away walks. We need to do something about that. I don't know if we can maybe incorporate instant replay into the at-bats. Maybe challenge some third strike calls. Maybe challenge some walk calls. Even if it's a couple times a game. I don't know how you would incorporate it in there, but let's try something. Let's make these umpires accountable. Let's do it. Let's make the umps accountable. The other thing, if I was umpire for a day, I'd take another look at the pitch counter. I think we might have to lengthen it a little bit. I think 10 seconds is a little bit too short. Excuse me. 15 seconds is a little bit too short. You got guys coming down to the wire every single game. You notice when there's a man on base, the 20-second timer is pretty adequate. They're able to come to the stretch, come set and fire. They're usually on time, not really in danger. And we need to do something about the windup, though. When there's no men on base, they're having a hard time with it. Do we add a few seconds there? Do we make it an average of 20 seconds when there isn't a man on base? When there is a man on base? I'm sure they've looked at studies. I think they probably have discussed it till they were blue in the face already, but if I was commissioner, I would take a look at last season and see how many times we've gotten a ball called because of the pitch counter running out, and make a decision if we need to lengthen it or not. Another thing I would do if I was commissioner for a day is I would go to a few ball games. I guess I wouldn't go to a few. I would go to a Fightin' Phil's game and get a box. I would live it up. I would get all you can eat. That's what I would do. I would get all you can eat. I would shake hands. I would kiss babies. I would go see the team. I'd be amazing. Be an amazing day. I mean, you figure I'd spend the first part of my day behind the desk, looking into rules, regs, shouting at some umpires on the phone to make better calls, and then at the end of the day, go to a ball game in Philly. What kind of a day would be better than that? I think I could think of a few better days, but that would be at the top of my list. Take the kids out to the ballpark. That would be nice. It would be amazing. And I gotta say, I'm starting this podcast here. I'm not real good with the baseball stats, numbers, and all that, but I will get better. I'm trying to ease my way into it. I figure I'll start small. I'll do a 15-20 minute broadcast here, and then ease my way into a 30-minute broadcast maybe. I have some things going on behind the scenes where I'm going to get some guests coming on. My friend Mike's going to come on. He's going to be a good color commentator. Now, he's a guy that knows the game. Anytime I text him and ask him a question, he's got a good answer. He's got more info to come back to me. And it's just an amazing feat to be able to know the game inside and out like he does. And that's where I want to be. I want to know the inside and out of the game. And that kind of ties into being the commissioner for a day. I would know the ins and outs of the ball game. That'd be a lot of knowledge to handle. But if I was commissioner for a day, I'd talk to Nike about our new uniforms. I'd say, hey Nike, why are we only doing 4 uniforms this year? What's with the see-through pants? And why can't we go back to what we did before and have, say, our St. Patty Day uniforms, our red tops for spring training? You know, it's going to be boring not having some of these uniforms this year. You know, the grays, the pinstripes. I mean, they're nice uniforms, don't get me wrong, but just seeing them all the time, blah. Boo, I say. Boo. I mean, if you can't come to the table and fill a contract with all that the teams want and need, bring someone who can. Bring someone to the table who can fulfill it. Now, I'm sure Major League Baseball was involved and said we don't need as many uniforms as we think we need and all that jazz. And I'm sure Nike would have fulfilled the contract if they wanted them to. And again, this goes into me not knowing a lot about the back end, and I should do my research before shooting off the cuff here. But I'm just throwing my 2 cents in on it. All things being equal, if you can't do it, then get somebody who can. And if Major League Baseball is responsible for it, shame on you. And the making of the material that we have, I hear they're see-through pants. What's that about? You expect these guys to play with see-through underpants on? Come on. Let's get with the program here. Let's get with the program. So, being commissioner for a day, that led into talking about the uniforms a little bit. If I was commissioner for a day, I'd revoke the contract from Nike. I'd find somebody who can and would fulfill a full lineup of uniforms that the teams want and need to give the fans what they want. The fans all want the menagerie of uniforms that we love. We love all these uniforms. Bring them back. And that's all I got to say about that. And as far as the starting lineup goes, who can't be excited about talking about that? What a mouthful that was. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited about it. I know the other day the Phillies played their 4th Grapefruit League game. That was Tuesday. That meant they had 25 games to go then. You know, it's still really early in the spring, but who says it's not a good time to talk about the 26-man roster? Opening day is only on March 28th. It's right around the corner. We're facing the Braves. That was a good draw for opening day. Braves are going to be a tough team this year. You got to play the Braves perfectly. They're unrelenting. If you don't play them perfectly, you lose the game. Simple as that. I think you got to play small ball with the Braves if you have the opportunity to bunt someone over. Bunt them over. Get them in with a couple singles. You know? Get the runs where you can. Don't worry about getting home runs as much. Play the small ball. Get the runs where you can. Don't rely on the big hitters. And I should say, don't rely on the big hitters, but how can't you rely on the big hitters when almost everyone in our lineup's a big hitter? So play the Braves perfectly or you're going to lose. And I want to come out and win this series and make a statement that we're back. We're going to be here to stay this year. And we've come to win. The Fighting Phils have come to win. So looking ahead to the 2024 season, we'll start at the catcher spot. None other than JT Realmuto. And you know, nobody's caught more innings in the past 2 seasons than JT. Nobody even comes close. He's caught about 2,500 innings in the 2022 to 2023. That includes the postseason. Offensively, he's made some swing changes. That's going to get him back to form. Backing him up is going to be Stubbs. Talking about Stubbs, what a personality. He's a party animal. Nobody will ever forget him partying it up in the postseason last year. Moving on to first base, Bryce Harper. He played so well at first in the second half that the Phillies parted ways with Rhys Hoskins. He was the longest tenured position player we had. Harper said at the beginning of camp that he doesn't expect to play right field ever again. The Phillies actually think that their infield's better with Bryce at first. They think he could win a Gold Glove this year. I've seen him play a couple games. Did I see him play a couple games? No, I saw him play yesterday. He made a nice diving grab. I gotta say, watching him dive, it makes me nervous. I always worry about him not getting up. He gets, like I said, he makes me nervous. I worry about him not getting up and staying down from an injury, but that's just me being nervous with his elbow. Alec Bohm, he's going to be our third baseman. He's got more in the tank offensively than I think everyone knows about. He posted his best on-base percentage last year. He also posted his best slugging percentage since his rookie season in 2020. He started 80 games at third and 59 games at first. This year he's going to be able to focus solely on third, which I think is a great idea. I think it's awesome. I think it's going to let him concentrate on what he needs to do, and that's play a wicked third base. We've seen so many flashes of greatness from him on third base. Everyone knows he can do it. We just need him to stay consistent, not make many bonehead plays. We saw him last year make a couple. He earned respect from the fans after his incident. And, yeah, we just got to keep it going with Bohm. Second base, we have Bryson Stott. He flirted with 300 through mid-August before struggling in the last 6 weeks. He'll continue to make offensive gains, though. And defensively, he's already one of the game's best second basemen. Trey Turner at shortstop. In his final 48 regular season games, his numbers were otherworldly. He slashed 337, 389, and 668 in the final 48 regular season games. Anything close to his career averages: 296, 349, and 483. Outfielders: Nick Castellanos, Jake Cave, Brandon Marsh, and Johan Rojas. Well, the Phillies want Rojas to be their center fielder, so they will give him the opportunity to prove himself this spring. He's got to prove himself more at the plate, though. That's going to make him more valuable, since we have other center field prospects in the mix. Castellanos will play right. Marsh will play left. There aren't many job openings on this team, but the last man on the bench is open. And the Phillies might want a left-handed bat, though, to come in late. And Cave, who is out of options, might be that guy. But Christian Pache, he is also out of options, is a great defender. He could fit even though he's right-handed. Thompson said this past weekend, we could look at it a bunch of different ways with that last guy. Do you want a true center fielder? Do you want a right-handed bat? Do you want a left-handed bat? Do you want a guy that can come off the bench and steal a base? Toward the end of camp, we'll sit down and figure out the best way to go, because there's some guys we're just going to lose if they don't make the club. We've got to factor that in too. In DH, we have Kyle Schwarber. Schwarber's one of the only two qualified hitters to be the DH on our squad. The Phillies are 151 and 100 in the past 2 years when he leads off. They're 45 and 48 when he does not. We have two bench utility players in Whit Merrifield and Edmundo Sousa. The Phils signed Merrifield to a 1-year, $8 million contract to bolster the bench. That provides a lot of insurance if Rojas needs seasoning in AAA or if there's an injury. And in Sosa, we have an above-average defender who can play all around infield. He is out of options. Other bench candidates are Rodolfo Castro, Cody Clemens, Derek Hall, and Weston Wilson. And I have to say, Merrifield, that's a lot of money to spend in one guy. We picked him up in the off-season. He does have good numbers in the past, but I'm not sure if that's recent past or past. Is this guy riding on the coattails of what once was excellent numbers, or what are excellent numbers? We'll have to see how it goes. Let's see how the spring goes. One thing I'm not sure if I liked is he said he's not really caring about his spring numbers. But I would say to that, if you have bad spring numbers, you should care, because that's going to be a direct reflection on how your season's going to go. I don't think you could take a bad spring and just kick it up an extra notch and turn it into a great season. I think if you're not seeing the ball well, not hitting the ball well, not fielding the ball well 1 week, the next week you're not going to just turn on a switch and just do the opposite. So Merrifield, let's go. Let's keep a good spring going. Let's earn your position. Let's keep it going, and hope you're worth the $8 million we spent. The Phils have one of the best rotations last year, so I think the top 5 will be set. And Aaron Nola, Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez, Taijuan Walker, and then Zach Wheeler. We made a bunch of acquisitions in the offseason. And then the other players in the organization we already have, that'll help the mix we got. Our relief pitchers are Jose Alvarado, Connor Brogdon, Dylan Covey, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Jeff Hoffman, Orion Kirkring, Gregory Soto, and Matt Stram. We got 5 bet-the-house locks to make the bullpen. If everybody's healthy, we got Alvarado, Dominguez, Hoffman, Soto, and Stram. Kirkring is about as close to a lock as anybody can get, but the Phillies have said they want him to earn the job. It leaves 2 vacancies for the moment. Brogdon and Covey get the nod for the moment, but both are out of options, which means the Phillies risk losing them if they don't make the team. Most of that info comes from Todd Vasilevsky's article written about the 2024 outlook of the Phillies roster, giving credit where credit is due. And I gotta say, I agree with almost all of it. All that he wrote. That roster is a solid roster. I think that is a World Series team. I think we just gotta hope for health. I think we have to stay consistent. I think the hot and cold that we seem to run through is dangerous baseball. And if we can stay consistent throughout, that would be great. I look forward to opening day. I look forward to continuing this podcast. I look forward to getting some guests on soon. I look forward to getting better at doing a podcast. I look forward to doing more research and getting you more numbers and better information. More than just opinions. More than just rambling. You know, I started this podcast because I love the Phillies and I love baseball. One could compare it to front running, as I watch the game. I watch the game in and out. I watch it almost every day. I know our starting lineup inside and out. I know our top relief inside and out. I don't know our long relief much. I don't know the back end of the bullpen that much. But I do know a lot about the game. I do know about the strategy of the game. And I do know how the game should be played. What I look forward to doing is learning more about the back end of the game, the behind the scenes of the game, and all of that. Now I gotta tell you, I'm not that healthy of a guy, so doing a podcast is right up my alley. I can't do much in the way of physical things, so this is mental Olympics for me. Doing research for maybe a weekly podcast, I'm hoping. That's what I'm going to try to aspire for, doing a weekly podcast of, 20 to 30 minutes. What I got to try to do is pack it with more facts. Pack it with good info, pack it with good quality sound. And I read that you're going to strike out a lot in the beginning, but what you should do is make a lot of podcasts so that you get better at them. And I feel like I am getting better at talking into the wind here. Because I'm just sitting in my living room. It's all quiet. All the kids are at school. My wife is at work. And it's just me talking into a microphone. So, I know that all wasn't about sports there, but those are just some thoughts that are on my mind, and I wanted to share them. So for Breaking Down the Ballpark, this is Dennis Wallace, and I hope you all have a good day. Thanks for tuning in.